I had to restart the Mac. Anyway, my name is Paul Turner, the Food Yogi, and thank you very much for um, participating in this. I want to do a shout out to Jessica for organizing this. It's wonderful. And all of the legends that are going to do a 1 hour stream for the next 24 hours to promote Food for Life Global. A couple of things right off the bat. The, the two objectives of this stream is obviously nice to raise funds. And we'd like to raise as much funds as we can because our project is really efficient in feeding children. We can feed more children for less money than any other organization in the world, and it's a fact. But on top of that, I'd also like to see how we can generate more awareness for this project, because there's a lot of people don't even know about us, and yet we are actually the biggest food relief in the world. We have 210 projects in 60 countries, and it's always growing. And each project, on average, 500 meals a day. The total amount of meals every day is between 1.5 and 1.7, sometimes up to 2 million meals every single day. The United Nations does about 10 million meals a year, prepared meals, not packaged food, prepared meals a year. And Food for Life Global's affiliates around the world do that in about 3 to 4 months. So it's pretty amazing. And what I'm hoping is from this initial little YouNow streaming, is that we can generate some enthusiasm, some social activism to raise awareness for the good work of the volunteers. It's a volunteer-based organization, and also the philosophy, which I feel is actually more important. Just to give you some background, so on my profile, you see that I promote myself as the Food Yogi. I'm also a numerologist. I was a former monk. At the age of 19, I decided to become a monk, which is pretty crazy, right? Looking back, but I was a celibate monk for 14 years, and I lived in a temple, slept on the floor, cold showers, just like the Marines. Very simple lifestyle, very dear. And regulated meals, and I did 2 to 3 hours of meditation every day. And my first service was to cook and serve the public. So I was one of the original volunteers of Food for Life when it was in Australia. And then in 1995, so 1983 I became a monk. In 1994 I left Australia to set up the headquarters for Food for Life Global. At that time, there was no actual headquarters established. So my friend and I decided, we need to formalize this program. We need to give it some structure, some consistency, put some systems in place. So the program actually dates back to 1974 when some monks in India were feeding some children, village children who were fighting with dogs over scraps of food. So they saw this. Actually, one Swami Prabhupada saw this, and he was so hurt by this. He told his students that you have to make sure that no one goes hungry around the temple. So that was sort of the beginning of Food for Life back in '74, and it sort of developed organically in India, and then in Australia and parts of America. And then I got involved, as I said, in '83, and in '95 we set up the headquarters. So I've been involved for a very long time. See, there's a lot of people on board. Thanks a lot. As I'm going to take questions in a second, I just want to give you a background. So the project is volunteer-based, and what sets it apart from other food relief programs, apart that it's vegan, so we only serve the purest food. Our mission is actually to create peace and prosperity in the world through the liberal distribution of pure plant-based meals prepared with loving intention. That's the mission. That's really beautiful. So our whole program is centered around creating this sense of equality, which we believe is actually the root cause of all the problems in the world today. Just like you see with this recent election, right? There's so much hatred being thrown both sides. It's crazy. People are so divided. and yet they're forgetting the reality that essentially we're all equal. Essentially, we're all coming from the same energetic source. Whether you believe in the Big Bang or whether you believe in a creator, we're still coming from one energetic source. So we're energetically connected. So we're all essentially related. So that's the truth. So what we're trying to teach at Food for Life Global is this sense of equality, spiritual equality, but we do it in such a way that it's very, very meaningful and powerful. And the best way to do that is by sharing food unconditionally with love. So by sharing this pure food prepared with love in an unconditional way to everyone, we're communicating a message. You know, you're my brother, you're my sister, I care about you. We're equals. Here's some food. Let's sit down and, you know, and eat food. And this is a universally accepted, you know, part of every culture, where, you know, a culture is defined by music and food. People sit down, they eat food, and all of the barriers or whatever that may be there before just disappear once the table's set, and then there's a meal, and then everyone's centered around that food. So food has that power to communicate in all languages. So that's an important part of the Food for Life global strategy, is seeing the power of food as a solution to not only creating equality in the world, but also tapping into our own spiritual purity, our own essence. Too often you know, people they're told that they're not good at this, they're not good at that, they're judged in various ways externally, which really, from a spiritual perspective, do not define them. So what we're trying to do is teach a spiritual message, but in a non-religious, non-sectarian way, because these are really universal principles. And as I said, they're even scientifically based. So in this connection, I actually wrote a book called Food Yoga, which you'll see from the, thank you, Tim, for the hugs. You'll see from the Chuffed fundraiser that I'm actually offering the Kindle version and, you know, the paperback for a certain donation. And we have, you know, we also have like some gold cards. If you're interested in making an investment in gold, there's a really cool opportunity where you can donate $108. You get a card, actually a hard card, like a credit card that you can put in your wallet, and there's a gold ingot embedded in the card. So you get gold as well as you feed a child for 1 whole year, which is pretty amazing. So, you know, that's the efficiency of our program. So I have, you know, many stories I can share about the journey that I've been on with Food for Life Global. Been to 3 war zones. I've actually traveled personally to like 68 countries, and, you know, and lived very simply. Met with presidents, slept with poor people, helped people on the street, even cooked for presidents. I think 2 years ago it was, I cooked for Jose Pepe Mujica, president of Uruguay. I made him a vegan feast. So I arranged this with a media personality, a famous media personality in Uruguay, who was a friend of my wife, Juliana. And we said, hey, you know, I'd like to cook a vegan feast for Pepe. So he pulled some strings and he arranged it. You know, we had to jump through a few hoops, and there's all these protocols, security protocols and such. And anyway, so we flew down there, and we got to cook a feast. I cooked him a huge feast, a vegan feast for, you know, for lunch. Him and his secretary and some other minister of education was. And we were there for like 5 hours at the you know, the Uruguayan White House. Pretty cool. So I've had a lot of amazing experiences, and I'm very passionate about this project because I really do believe that it has the answers to all the problems in the world. And it sounds very, you know, highfalutin, but the fact is, if we really saw each other as brother and sister, if we actually saw past the physical, you know, entities, the color of the skin and the race and whatever these things, and we saw ourselves as spiritual beings, then hunger would disappear overnight. We wouldn't tolerate someone being hungry or someone being impoverished. We wouldn't tolerate any of it. But because we have these ideas that have been programmed into us, that I'm an American, I'm an Italian, I'm well, whatever, all of these different identities, which are just illusions. They're all just temporary identities. Then we have all these divisions, all these artificial borders that separate countries. It's just silly. And this is all part of, the way it works in the world today in order to disempower us, is to keep us divided. So what we're trying to do is get to the root cause of these problems, which is establishing a real sense of unity and equality, and in there creating peace and prosperity in the world. So, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to take some. It's all about the love, exactly. That's what it's all about. There needs to be more love in the world. It's crazy, So who we got here? There's a lot of people. Tofu, Tommy, how to become a fan. Thanks for becoming fans, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, head over if you can afford $5, $10. It all helps out. $10 will feed a kid for a month. I think we have on there, which is pretty amazing. So if you have how many meals a year do you supply? Yeah, good question. Well, it's sort of hard to define because it fluctuates, because you can imagine it's different in every country and the situations are constantly changing. We have programs in India where we have a very structured, sort of system where we have to provide a certain amount of meals. They're government assigned schools. The government actually initiated a program called the midday meal program, where they didn't want any child in India to go hungry. So they asked for non-profits to get involved to help them to provide the meals. And so we became one of their biggest, or actually I think they're the biggest participant in that program. And so the government says, okay, we have this school, this school, this school. There are 1,000 kids in this school. There are 3,000 in that school. Add to your list, you have to feed them. So we have the kitchens, and there's many, many kitchens, and they're very sophisticated. And one kitchen alone can do like 60,000 meals. And they start like at 2 o'clock in the morning, cutting all the vegetables, cleaning all the rice and the dal. And they have these pressure cookers where they can cook 700 liters of rice in like 15 minutes, which is pretty amazing. It's actually steam cooking. It's really, really high tech. And so we have these pressure cookers. And in fact, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see some videos of this. And so we have a set number of kids we feed in India, but then it fluctuates around the world. So on average, it's between 1.5 and 1.8. And so if you extrapolate that out, over a year, it's like, well, by say, 300, there's a few days we wouldn't serve on some places. It depends. And like, for example, in India, it's just school days. It's not the weekends. It's all for the school children. It's hundreds of millions of meals a year. Do the math. That's a lot. That's way more than I think it's like 200 to 300 million meals a year. How does distribution of food can it create equality? It does, because see, food is a great communicator. Just like Thanksgiving yesterday, right? We may have issues with parents and relatives, but when there's a Thanksgiving and the meal's, prepared and everyone's sitting around the table, all of a sudden, all that division, all of the issues we had sort of just dissolve away. So food has that power to communicate. And that's the fact with just regular food, even non-vegan food, right? It has that power. Food is very, very powerful. What to speak of food that's like plant-based, prepared with love, that has so much more power to transform consciousness, to really uplift spirits, to really touch people's spirit, their heart. So when you share food with pure food in a very loving, unconditional way, that communicates in a very practical way that, I respect you as an equal. You're my brother, you're my sister. That's how it works. What else is there? Other questions? Thanks, Malgozata, is it? Yeah. Isn't it 60 countries? Yeah, it's 60 countries. This time around vegan life, thanks. Yeah, 60 countries. world is one have in common. Exactly, Jessica. Yeah, we educate as well. And I feel that, if you look at other food relief organizations and compare them to ours, you see our approach is very, very different. And I've ever noticed this in the vegan community. And sometimes when I talk about spiritual things like this, it sort of freaks people out. They think, it's just religious talk, but it's not religious. This is spiritual. This is science. Because this can be proven scientifically that there's a living spark that is a source of consciousness, and it's different from the body. I mean, you can understand these principles scientifically. So we want to teach that, but in a non-sectarian way. And the most powerful way to communicate that is with pure vegan food, prepared with love. I'm recording this for YouTube. Yes, I did set it up so that it would actually record for YouTube. I put it in the settings. So here's a question: if you could have a superpower, what would it be? If I had a superpower, what would it be? It would be to convince people that what they eat has a powerful impact on their consciousness. Most of the time people talk about food choices and the climate change, or whatever, or the physical appearance, or their health. But what I want to teach, and this is what I teach in Food Yoga exclusively, is that spiritual life or evolution of consciousness actually begins when you master the tongue. So that's one message I want people to take home with them. Evolution of consciousness. Your consciousness will blossom as you learn to master the tongue. The tongue has two functions, tasting and vibrating. So what you speak and what you taste will have a powerful impact on your consciousness, on your evolution, spiritual evolution. And so if I had a superpower, the superpower would be to communicate that message to the world. Thanks for donating. Yeah, thanks for donating. Controvertible snitch. Thank you. Appreciate it. I understand the difference. Spiritual. Yeah, it's a big difference. Because spirituality means it's inclusive. It includes everyone. Whereas religion is very exclusive. It's like, you're either in or you're out. That's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is that we're all in the same family. Whether you're black, white, pink, yellow, this race, that race, it doesn't matter, because we're all energetically equal. Spiritually, energetically equal. We're all connected from the same source. So yeah, it's inclusive. Thanks for becoming a fan, Enviro Curl. Spirituality for me is very holistic. Yes, it is. It has to be holistic, Jessica. It can't just be about, prayers, and doing like your prayers or your meditation once a week. It is a whole lifestyle. Whereas where everything you do, everything you eat, everything you give away, all austerities you perform, everything is somehow or other connected to a spiritual objective. Whether that's to uplift people, to get them plant seeds of awareness, or to help yourself to become more aware, more conscious, or to make the world a better place. So it's like your whole lifestyle has to be, and that's what we learn as monks. So as a monk, we were 24/7. We were just like constantly working on our spiritual awakening through meditation and devotional service, where even the work we did was connected to, was like there was a consciousness and awareness that this is service to God. It was like there was always a spiritual objective there. So you can do this, and this was what it means to be a yogi. The word yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means to connect, right? To connect two things together. Yoke, like yoking. And so when you take up the yoga path, right, the beginning stages of the yoga path is where you acknowledge that this body is, this human form is actually very special. It's a temple for the soul. It's like there's many millions of other species of life, but somehow or other, we have a human form, and that's not by accident. That's after many millions of births. We've had many different material experiences, and we've come to this point of having a human form, which is the best facility for raising our consciousness. And so when you take up yoga, essentially you're saying, okay, my body is a blessed, it's a house of God, it's a temple. Therefore, I have to keep it healthy and clean. Therefore, you only eat clean food. You only put clean food in the temple. And you do stress less exercise. So yoga, when it's done properly, with the breathing and everything, is actually very physically demanding and very enriching, and it pumps the blood around the system, and it oxygenates the blood, and it gets everything moving and beautifully, in a very stress-less way. So that's the power of yoga. But that's just stage one. That's just the beginning stages when we practice the physical side, the asana form of yoga. And then there's many steps along the way, and then there's like controlling the senses, learning to master the senses, which begins with the tongue. And then there's eating pure food, and then there's mantra meditation, and then there's austerities. There's all these steps along the way of yoga, until you reach the point of samadhi, with pure focus, absorption in God. Coffee time, Tim. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Well, I'm actually in Colombia. The charity is actually based in Slovenia, which is where Melanie Trump comes from. So we have a headquarters there in Slovenia. I think more people love that place now because of her husband. It's a very beautiful country. It's amazing. It's actually the capital city is the green capital of Europe. It's incredible. It's so beautiful. And our headquarters is there, but I'm based in Colombia with my wife at her animal sanctuary, julianasfarm.org. I'll put in the chat here so you guys can see that as well. If you want to check her out, her website. And she had an amazing project, and it's very much connected to Food for Life's mission, because it's teaching equality through rescuing and caring for abused and abandoned animals. So we have 70 animals here at the sanctuary in Colombia, in the Andes Mountains. We're in the top of the Andes, 3,000 meters above sea level. So no problems with tsunamis here. And and it's really beautiful. The weather's pretty steady. We have mangoes, avocados, bananas, all the tropical fruits all year round. So it's really great for an Aussie to have tropical fruit all year round. I was telling Tommy this the other day. He was very envious. And it's a really beautiful project. So we're actually working on now, Jessica was asking what are we working on. So we're working on, we have funds to complete the purchase of this project, and we're setting up a food yoga academy here. So a place where people can be certified as food yogis. So not only, can you can be trained as an expert vegan chef, but you'll get trained and certified as a food yogi vegan chef. So you'll not only just be physically educated and knowledgeable about the physical side of veganism, but also the spiritual side. So food yogi certification. So that's that big project we're working on too. Mangoes, can Tim come live with you? Yeah, the mangoes are amazing here. We have like Filipino mangoes, apple mangoes, Yalima mangoes, Tommy mangoes, like about 6 or 7 different mangoes. It's crazy. But yeah, you're welcome to come. We actually have guest rooms here. So we have volunteer opportunities here at the sanctuary. You can come and you can stay. You can pay a nominal price just to cover the board and the food. And you can volunteer at the farm. And we're even going to set up an Airbnb as well. But we have volunteers. We have like 6 volunteers coming next December. We have 3 guest rooms with like 6 beds. Yeah, you're welcome to come, anyone. No problem. It's all vegan, of course. So we only have vegan food. It's a sanctuary. How do I apply for classes? I'm going to be, so the Kiss to Vegan 92, we're going to be I'm setting up an online food yoga academy, and then I'm going to be promoting the workshops and the certification very, very soon. I'm just putting together the pieces. Thanks for donating, Gina. Would you consider, so Tommy Tofa says, would you consider rolling out that to UK as be great to learn? Yeah, I mean, I would love to do the same thing in UK. So yeah, definitely. In fact, recently I was invited by someone from Scotland who wanted me to come and do, attend like the vegetarian festival there and do workshops. But then at the last minute, it didn't work out, and he couldn't actually pay my ticket. So I couldn't do it. But yeah, I'd happy to come to United Kingdom and do something there. I've done workshops all over the world. I was just in Hong Kong last month. I did workshops in Hong Kong. Hit Like a Girl, let's see. Hi, Hit Like a Girl. What are some of the easiest foods to grow for this? Anita S. What are some of the easiest foods to grow? I mean, everything grows here. Crazy. You just throw a seed in the ground, it grows. This is like over here. The weather's perfect for growing. Thanks for donating, Judalicious. Yeah, it would be great to roll that out internationally too. Yeah, well, I definitely would. As I said, I've done workshops in Australia, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in the United States. I have done in England in the past, a couple of years ago. So I definitely want to do more. No need for a room team. Sleep in a mango tree. No, we don't actually have mango trees here. We just buy them from the market very cheap. It's too easy just to buy them. They're so cheap. Literally, I can get a mango like this, like a juicy mango, no strings, for like 20 cents, 30 cents. It's crazy. So yeah, please come. You can enjoy all the good food. So Malgozata says, what is your mainstream education background? Well, as I said, I became a monk when I was 19. I was planning to go to college, but then I just cut out of the system and became a monk. So I'm self-taught. But I have a background in web development, web design, graphic design, health, nutrition, things like that. I'm also a numerologist, so I'm self-taught in everything. Where is the sanctuary, guys? It's in a place called Chia, which is about 1 hour from Bogota, the capital of Colombia. That would be awesome. Time I could hit hi, Hit Like a Girl. I would love it. Invited her. Thank you for inviting my friends. Appreciate it. I got a second hug. Thanks. Mangoes are $3.80 by US. It's crazy. I know. We're so spoiled here. It's insane. Bananas are like 10 cents. At the markets, 10 cents each. Papayas, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Really, really good quality too. Organic and cheap. Colombia is a real hidden gem. A lot of people don't realize how good it is. Because most people are thinking that it's like, some crazy drug, saturated place. Like, it's portrayed in the Narcos series. It's nothing like that. It's actually people just doing their thing. I don't have any fear here. I've lived in many countries around the world. I was more fearful when on the Bronx in the United States than in Colombia. There's absolutely nothing to worry about here. It's amazing. So yeah, please, you're all welcome. No, how Colombia is so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. You got to do your research on Colombia, Judalicious. It's amazing. It's actually, when I was developing the business plan for the Food Academy Sanctuary project, I was doing research on wellness tourism, which is actually a $2 trillion market. 2 trillion, not billion, trillion. It's ridiculous. Wellness tourism is huge, and Colombia is one of the rising stars. It's like people are starting to wake up and realize that Colombia is like a great place to visit because it's cheap. The weather's pretty steady. I mean, you've got Jamaican beaches, you've got Andes Mountains, you've got tropicals right on the equator. It's too good. And the American dollar is really powerful. So if you have $1 American dollars, you can do well here. Are you into raw food? Yes, I was actually a raw foodist. How do you say that? Margozata. I was actually a raw foodist for 2 years when I lived in New York from 2008 to 2010. Totally raw. And I didn't feel like, after 2 years, I didn't feel like it was the best thing for me. So now I'm like 50%. I have raw every day. But I feel like, you have to find that right number that suits your body type, because everyone's got a different body and a different situation. But definitely most people need cooked food in their diet. I don't advocate that everyone goes raw because I think it's impractical. But, there are some people that can do it, but it's a very, very rare few. And usually it requires living in places like Jamaica, which is obviously not possible for everybody. But yeah, so what else? I've got to catch up with you guys. I don't know how to do some of these clapping and inviting. Now. Well, Anita, I hate you because Tim loves mangoes, but we can't get them now in Washington. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stereotype Colombia. There definitely is. You've got to come here to undress that stereotype. It's nothing like what's portrayed in Hollywood. It's totally different. I'm eating a mango right now. Ready? What type is it? What type of mango is it? I don't know my real name. Thank you very much, The Kissed Vegan 92. I really appreciate that. I personally think raw, thank you very much, Judalish, for donating. I personally think raw is impractical, especially in my own circumstances in recovery. A tummy tofu, yeah, exactly. For most people it is. And I was at the heart of the raw food scene in America, 2008, when it was like really, really hot. And so many of those people just dropped out. It was like, I saw people looking terrible. They were underweight. They were killing themselves just because, out of a sense of, it was like a competition. It was an ego. If you weren't 100% raw, then somehow you were failing. If you were like 95% raw, then you weren't pure enough. It was ridiculous. So it's sort of like a cult mentality. So most of those people just, dropped out of it. The whole scene just sort of fell apart. It's still active, but most people have come to the realization that it needs to be balanced. And raw has to be a part of your diet, definitely every day raw. Every day some raw, some what do you call it, probiotic foods, but not just raw food. I mean, you do need cooked food, especially in a place like New York, where it's very cold in the winter. What else did I miss there? I've got 12 mangoes sitting in my dish right now. What, they tell me the types of mangoes? Oh, Bowen. Bowen is good. I haven't had a Bowen in a long time. Good night, Laura. You're going to make Tim cry. Please, I agree with both raw and cooked. Yeah, it's better to be balanced. And that's what I teach in food yoga. So if you guys, I highly recommend, if you're interested in learning about this, check out the Kindle version. It's like, I think it's $8 or something. But I get into this where I talk about, a nice balanced diet according to your body constitution, because everyone's body is different and everyone's situation is different. So you've got to find the right diet that suits you. Of course, it has to be plant-based, because not only is that healthy for you physically, but for your consciousness, it's better. That's the most important thing. Whatever we eat, we have to be considering what's good for my consciousness. And that's what most people don't consider. And even many of the raw food, vegan gurus out there, they don't even really talk about that, But actually, it's really important that you cultivate your consciousness. You become more and more aware, realize spiritual identity, your spiritual potential. That's the purpose of human life. And food is one of the keys to unlocking that. And so it's very important that you give food your fullest attention, that you eat the right food with the right consciousness, prepare it with the right consciousness, and reap the benefits. Thanks for inviting people, Lisha Joy. Tofu, yeah, we need fats and proteins for hormonal productions, soluble vitamins, yep. Include brain function, name a few, yep. I go so bad. Kensington Pride. Actually, I got 13. That's right, I've been doing your homework. When it's winter time, I eat more cooked. When it warms up, I eat more raw. Yeah, that's right, Lisha Joy. That's exactly right. See, the key is to listen to your body, to actually to feel what your body needs, and only you will know that. So it's like what for my body. Now, yeah, this is an interesting thing because the other, um, a friend of mine says, "Hey, I'm having this series of vegetarian. I'm not sure if she's a vegan, but she's a vegetarian." And she says, "Hey, I'm craving eggs. I don't know what's going on. This is so new to me." And she hasn't eaten eggs for like 30 years. I've known her forever. And I says, it must be something that's missing in you. You're craving eggs because you're missing something like choline or something like that. And I says, look, eat broccoli, kale. I gave her a list of things, important nutrients that are in eggs, and just finding plant-based sources for them. I said, this, and she found that it actually worked. So you gotta listen to your body. What's your body telling you, and you eat accordingly. But it always has to be plant-based because only plant-based food is going to enrich your consciousness. I explain this in Food Yoga, but there's basically 3 categories of food. There's food in ignorance, food in passion, and food in goodness. And the yogi only eats food in goodness because it's the food in goodness, the high vibration food, which will actually facilitate expansion of consciousness. Whereas ignorant food like meat, rotten food like meats and fish and so on and eggs, they will actually dull the consciousness. So that's why you want to avoid that type of food. What if my body wants to pizza? Yeah, well, you can have pizza without the cheese. You can make your own cheese. It's pretty easy. I mean, there's so many recipes online now to make vegan cheese. What sort of dishes do you cook to feed children? Is it location-based? Yes, we only cook according. Good question. Who is it, Jessica? We only cook according to local taste. So we cook meals that are suitable and palatable to the local taste. So in India, we cook a lot of dals and rice and, curries and things like that. We also make chapatis, traditional things. And in other countries, different. Thanks for donating the Halanesian. Appreciate that. I'm a trained nutritionist and personal trainer, so I know quite a bit. Good on you, Tommy. Jessica, yeah, for sure I have an egg replacement post on my... Oh, that's great. So how many kids do you lure into the back of the van today? Come on. Have you been to Veggie Bar in Melbourne? No, I don't. No, I have not. That's my favorite place, but it sounds good. I have cancer. Oh, sorry to hear that. Have you tried? I would highly recommend CBD. Tate Joe 102. Definitely check out CBD oil. I just did a post today about that. This lady who had like brain cancer, and she cured herself with CBD oil. She was considered to be, long gone. It was like there was no hope, and she cured herself with CBD oil, which amazingly was recommended by the doctor. Because she told the doctor, look, I don't want to do the chemo and the whole chemical thing. And the doctor says, okay, look, I heard that CBD oil works. Why don't you try that? It did. It worked for her. So check that out. What else is there? Melbourne, and it hurts. Love tofu and pizza. Yeah, tofu's good. Vegan cheese is easy to make. Taking nutrition as well. Wait, this stream is killing me. Really? I hope we've given you some information to inspire you, Tate Joe. Anyway, please check out the website yogi.org and foodforlife.org if you want to learn a little bit about what we're doing. I also love, so Lisha Joy, I also love cooked tomatoes. For cooked tomatoes, releases slice lycopene, which is essential. I can't always eat raw. Yeah, no problem. Eat according to your body. Trolls. Oh, okay. Okay. I want to be a nutritionist too, Tommy. Okay, that's nice. My wife has ovarian cancer. Really? Definitely CBD oil, Tommy. It's like highly recommended. It's powerful. You can make your own too. I'm actually planning to make some because you could, even if you don't have a a chronic disease, it's a good thing to have in the system to help build immunity. So I'm going to make some CBD oil, and I'm going to put a few drops in my smoothies every morning. So when I have a really amazing smoothie too, actually. Every day in my smoothies, I put mangoes, papayas, bananas, aloe vera, turmeric, ginger, moringa, spinach, cacao, what else? Yeah, that's plenty. Lots of good stuff every morning. What is that kind of oil? CBD. It's cannabinoids. It's cannabis oil, but it doesn't have the THC. So it's actually just the pure healing benefits of the cannabis plant, without the THC. Thanks for donating, Polynesian. I already said that. Yeah, Tate, please don't troll. Thank you for appreciating the work. This Kiss Vegan, come graveside. Sounds amazing. I make smoothies every day. Yep. In fact, if you check out my Facebook page, which is also Food Yogi, I do post some recipes there. And in fact, even in the Food Yoga book, I've got recipes. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The Kiss to Vegan 92. Appreciate that. Awesome, Tommy. I'm lazy. Don't make smoothies, but just you. I make smoothies every morning, and I have like 2 liters of smoothie every day. So I have like 2 big bottles every day, and it's, as I said, mangoes, pitaya, dragon fruits, bananas, papayas, moringa, spinach. It's amazing. And I put fresh turmeric root, which is really good, coconut oil, flaxseed oil, fresh aloe vera. I just chop up the aloe vera and scoop it in. And cacao is like super powerful. Your ingredients list is all anti-inflammatory and kills bacteria. Yep, that's true. It's a very powerful smoothie, and it tastes delicious. It's amazing. There's all these crazy things in there, and it tastes amazing. So yeah, I can share the recipe. But if you check out my Facebook page at Food Yogi, you'll see some recipes in there. Peanut butter is one ingredient. Okay, you put peanut butter in your smoothie. That's cool. To my husband, so Malgozata, my husband makes jars of smoothies every morning. Good man. I make 2 liters. And Jags is, oh yeah, I became a fan. Well, I appreciate that. So any other questions about the charity or Food Yoga? How can I donate? There's a link there. Jessica, can you post the link? So I think I'm going to wrap up now because my time is up, and I'm going to drop in throughout the next 24 hours as a guest. In fact, I'm sorry I didn't invite anyone on here, but I guess I would have got prompted to do that. But thank you very much for donating, you guys. Thank you for listening, asking great questions. And again, I want to thank Jessica and Tommy and all of the whole crew for getting behind this project. It's really important, and I hope that we can, build up an army of social activists as awareness. Thank you very much, Tommy, for donating. Appreciate that. So check out Food Yoga. Check out Food Yoga, and check out Food for Life. So I think, I'm not sure, Jessica, are you there? Who's next on the stream? I'm going to go because it's late here. Let me know who's the next person's going to take over. I guess you are. Yep. In fact, the Kiss to Vegan 92, I'm going to have be an online Food Yoga Academy where you can become certified online. So I'm going to have, obviously the academy here too physically. You can come and learn with me directly, but we'll also have certification online, level 1, level 2, and then master level. So I'll let you know really soon. I'm just working on it. Polynesian, it's over to you, and thanks a lot. I appreciate everyone. God bless you all, and thank you for inviting me to do this. So good night, ciao, adios, bye. How do we get rid of this Tate Joe? He's just trolling. Tate Joe, you're not helping anyone. Adios. Good night.